I want to show you the new Nano Slider. Let's just get into it. Let's just start with the case. It's about 12, 16 inches long, totally portable, totally protective. Let's check it out. I like quality. Comes with a battery labeled F750B. You can use lower power batteries, or you can use the 970s and really get some time out of this thing. This 750 that they included with me, I had this thing running for hours on this battery with no problem at all. Next, we'll get into this later. There's an iPhone connector to this, and it's not a cheesy little plastic iPhone connector. Check this out. This thing's definitely solid. Every bit of it is metal. These flip up. You can put your iPhone in there. It will hold very large iPhones. It's got a rotational quick release lock on the bottom. I haven't seen an iPhone connector made this well included with a product, I don't think ever. Of course, you get your obligatory stickers and various things like that. And you can order this in different ways, but the way they did this is they gave me, I love that they have stickers on these. I have such a problem figuring out what cables go to what, and now I know this goes to Nano. This is for type of camera, the S2, here's L1, here's N3, here's DC2, here's E2. The idea behind this is that you can connect the unit up to your camera and remotely control it as you're doing time lapse or something like that, and it'll fire the shutter, etc. This is a USB cord. I label mine Nano so I don't lose it like all my cables. This goes into a USB. I've charged this thing using a block, using an iPhone, one of those larger block chargers. You can run the unit while it's in, and it will charge the battery. Procedure for setting it up, you want to pay attention to that. And of course, the manual. It's very short. It's in different languages. Now here's the star of the show. This thing is incredibly small, but remember that its travel goes, when it's mounted, goes all the way over to this side and all the way over to this side. It's genius. When you first get it, this carriage is locked. You want to unlock this right here. You turn it to the right, and now the carriage is unlocked. Very nice, very firm. Make sure you unlock that, because you're going to have a problem. I don't see any problem with this thing sliding around or doing something funky like that. I like the fact that it's got a level built in, which is really cool. It does have 3/8 and 2/4 20s on the bottom, which is awesome. The other thing it has down here are these little feet. All you do is screw these guys in or out like that, and it allows it to lift this above where the carriage is going to be going. Over here we have the battery. Here's the supplied battery. We simply lock it into place. I always label my stuff so I don't lose it. And now that's locked. That's not coming out. I appreciate that they use a button for an unlock to do, because this thing isn't coming out. This is the USB-C port where you can plug in that cord I showed you, and it will run at the same time and charge the battery, which is awesome. Next is the center carriage. As I said, you want to make sure that you unlock this so this thing is free to move. It's pretty tight, which is good. It's not a bad thing. You don't want it super tight. Now, this guy here, this is free spinning, and you'll see why in a moment, why it's like that. For me, mounting my camera or whatever I mount to here, I use these iFootage C-Stars. I absolutely adore and love these things. They're one of the best products as far as quick releases in 2020, in my opinion. All you do is you put it on here. Now notice this lock. You need to push this in. What will happen is it will lock this in place. You let it go, and this is free spinning. Now, of course, as usual, there's their 3/8 inch screw, and they have that spring-loaded pivot down that turns it into a quarter, so you don't have to worry about screws and all that other stuff. Now we make sure we push the lock in so this does not rotate. And then we simply put whatever quick release plate you want on here, tighten it down, you're ready to go. This could be a slide quick release, a Manfrotto quick release, it can be any type of release plate. You can also simply mount an entire video head on here. I'm not going to do that right now, I just want to show you how this thing works, and we'll check it out later. Now you hold down the button for about 2 or 3 seconds. The screen comes on. You don't want to touch this thing. What it's going to do now is it's going to fully calibrate itself. You'll see this thing moving. There's a sensor over here to sense how far away this carriage is. It also is going to sense and reset the calibration of this angle here, the left and right angle of this guy. Right now it's going through and it's doing its calibration. Now it's done calibrating and it's returned the carriage head to its leftmost position. When you mount your camera on here, you'll notice this thing moves now back and forth. It's not locked down. When you mount your camera on here, you want to position it like this and twist the head or the quick release plate or whatever you got to be 90 degrees to this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to position it 90 degrees. Once you've done that, it's remembering all this stuff internally, and where you're at, you say, I'm calibrated, and you're ready to go. Now, there's all sorts of stuff you can do in here. It's really, really simple. Quick start, time lapses, stop motion. Let me just show you the ease of this thing. By pressing these 2 buttons down, it's saying, hey, go ahead and set your A and B points, and I want you to watch what exactly is occurring here. So let's say I move this carriage to here, and let's say my camera's here, and I say, hey, I want to pivot on this point over here that I'm looking at, and I say, give me the A point. And then I'm going to come down all the way down here, and I'm going to pivot at the same place over here in the viewfinder at what my camera's at, and I'm going to set my B point. Now my B point's set, and for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to move the timing down of this thing, let's say to about 5 seconds, which is really fast. You probably wouldn't do a 5-second shot like that. I say, okay, I got all my points set. I'm good. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go from A to B or from B to A? We'll go from B to A. This here tells me, do I want it to continue to loop back and forth? We're going to set that. It's as simple as that. Go to the origin, please. It takes a second to go to the origin and recognize it, which is over here, and then we simply press start. And away it goes. Now notice, as it's going, notice the rotation of the camera, which I'll show later. So it's keeping that rotation going like that of the camera. I can exit this screen. I can say, you know what, I really want to go nuts here and go with 1 second. You probably would never do this. For 1 second, it's kind of insane. Let's go back to the origin. Remember, we said we wanted to go from B to A to start. We could switch that. Let's loop this guy, and let's start it. And here we go. It's taken off. It's going to pause. It's going to go over there. It's going to pause. Now, what it does is it comes down. It doesn't just go down here like this. It eases in over there. It comes down here, and it eases in over there. You can exit at any time like that. Let's go back to the home screen. Let's go to Timelapse, which I'll show you later. Again, you want to know what your interval is, whether you're using bulb mode. I'll show you that later. How many frames per second you're shooting in, 24, 25, 30, 50, 60, let's say 30. Output time 1 second, and maybe again, same, A to B, set the origin. I'm not going to change the points, and let's loop that dude, and let's do a time lapse. Go to the origin. It's found it. Let's start. So now it's moving. Remember, 1 second. I could set that to 5 seconds. What it's doing is it's doing the same thing. It's adjusting the camera to what I'm doing here, and using one of these cords, I connect to just about any type of camera, and it's going to fire that shot, fire that shot, fire that shot, fire that shot. Let's exit out of here. Let's do something more reasonable, like every 5 seconds. We're going to loop it, go back to the origin, and let's start it. It's starting like this, fire, fire, fire. So it's going to take, instead of one, you'll see here it's showing my frames. I'm at 20 out of 150, how long the filming time, and it's figuring out how to do this. Let's exit out of there because I do want to show you another thing. Let's go to home and let's go to stop motion. Stop motion is very interesting. Let's go to 30 frames per second. I would probably do 60. And again, you would have a camera selected up here. The output time, let's do 1 second. We'll just see what happens here. Let's go to the origin. You're not going to go back and forth on this. It's found it. Let's do the start. Now what it's doing is it's allowing it to fire. If I had a camera hooked up, I could fire this thing. Like let's say I had something sitting over here with a little guy. I could fire this thing. Then I could move the guy's little arm in position. It just moved to the next one. Watch over here when I press the next button. There's the next one. There's the next one. There's the next one. There's the next one. And you can program this to do all sorts of stuff. Let's exit out of here. Lastly, let me show you, just so you don't get confused by this head moving around and everything else. That doesn't mean you have to have a rotational head. Let's go back to our quick start. Let's press our 2 buttons. That clears everything out. Let's set this to straight on. We'll move it down here. Let's say right there. Set our A point. Let's move it down here. We're not going to do any head movement at all. For instance, if we have an object here and something off in the distance, we're just trying to do a cool slider shot. We'll set B. We'll say OK. Let's loop it. Let's go to the origin. It's ready to go. And let's start. And again, we're in 1 second. Pauses. Comes down. Does a slight ease in. Pauses. Comes down. Does a slight ease in. Pauses. Comes down. Let's exit out of there. Now that's just from the functions here itself. Lastly, let's take a look at the settings. It's pretty simple. You can turn off the screen. I have the screen set to 0 seconds. I have the start delay set to this. For instance, if you're filming yourself or something, let's say you want to wait 3 seconds until you start the thing. Let's go back here. Let's go back to quick start. We have everything there. Let's go back to the origin. I'd probably set it for 12 seconds if I was filming myself or more. Let's start, and notice it's going to wait 3 seconds and then run down. And now it's going to take off. And that's how you set that particular stuff. You can stop that at any time. All right, here would be an example setup or a shot. First thing I'm going to do is turn on the slider and let it go through its calibration mode. So I'm going to mount the camera on the unit using the C stars, of course. Locked into place, it's good. Now I simply align the camera 90 degrees or close as I can this way. I'm calibrated. Everything's ready to go. Now we got the camera going. I'll start this so you can see what's happening. Now I'm going to set 2 points, double click, and I'm going to move maybe right here. And I'm going to center that guy right there. That's my A point. Boom. Boom. Now I'm going to move the slider all the way down here. Now I'm going to set my B point. Boom. I'm going to say, okay, that's what I want to do. Now we're going to go from B over to A. So I want to set it to the origin. Let's set the time to 10 seconds so you don't have to wait too long. And let's give it a start. And we'll just do 1 slide from B to A. Start. I'm going to grab the zoom. I'm going to zoom up on this guy. What's nice is I'm going to get the same repeatable shot. So when I cut between the two, it's going to be awesome. Let's go back to the origin. Let's do another shot. Again, I'm going to get the same timing, the same pan, the same exact everything on the same shot. Now when I piece those together, I'm going to be able to cut to that shot. It's going to be just absolutely perfect. I've never in my life done an actual stop motion, so I'm going to play with this and see if I can pull something off. So we're going to do a stop motion. Let's call it 30 frames per second. And let's return this to the origin. And I'm just going to do this all manually. So here I'm going to start. We're going to take a photo. Move this guy a little bit. Move to the next. Take a photo. Move him a little bit more. Next photo. I was able to set this up, never having done this before, and did a pretty nice job. I can see the possibilities with a little practice on this. Really, really cool. Now all I've done is I've simply connected to the Sony a7S III the S2 cable, which is made for the Sony. So now I've started stop motion, and every time I forward this to the next frame, it's going to be on the correct axis, it's going to move, and it's going to take a photo. Photo, 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 and we just keep going. And there we go. I didn't have to touch the camera. I didn't have to touch the shutter. I didn't have to do anything. I could see moving this guy around and positioning him, especially using the app. I wouldn't have to touch anything, including this slider, and that's pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to take forever and do a crazy interval, but again, now we have the time-lapse function ready. It's sitting at the origin, it's connected, and all I need to do is press start, and away it goes. Now obviously I could repeat it back and forth, but this is great. You could set up photos for time-lapse, for night shots, for star shots, all sorts of possibilities. Very, very, very neat. Let's see if we can just pick up some shots somewhere and see what we can do with this thing. In my opinion, the cost for dollars versus what you get on this is simply amazing. My other sliders, I don't need them anymore. This is going to do everything that I can do. It's great for travel and everything else. I highly suggest this. Now, don't forget, if you decide to buy one of these, I have a link in the description below. If you use the code BFMGA, Basic Filmmaker Giveaway, when you purchase this product at either the European site or the English US site, when you buy the slider and use that, you'll be entered. And on January 7th, I believe, they're going to pull a name from everybody who bought it and simply refund your money. And I think that's freaking awesome. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.